So Billy Nelson put this tweet out the other day. He said, unfortunately, I'm hearing Adjit Kabayel will be joining, not joking. He said joking there, but I guess he meant joining the long line of top fighters who don't want to fight Martin. Real shame, as it would have been a good fight. There was a purse bid, or was supposed to be a purse bid last week, and Adjit Kabayel pulled out on the day of the bid. Very unusual for a fighter to do that unless they've got a better opportunity elsewhere. What would be a better opportunity for Adjit Kabayel than an IBF final eliminator? Maybe an Anthony Joshua fight would be a better opportunity, a Deontay Wilder fight, or a Daniel Dubois fight for the actual heavyweight title. Why go through somebody as tough as Martin Bakole in a final eliminator if you've been offered a straight crack at Daniel Dubois? And the reason I'm wondering whether it could actually be Dubois is because of the timing of Kabayel pulling out the purse bid. Kabayel is not, as far as I'm aware, promoted by Frank Warren, but if he is in negotiations to fight Daniel Dubois, then Frank Warren hypothetically could deliberately stall signing the Dubois-Kabayel fight until the day of the Bakole-Kabayel purse bid just to spite Ben Shalom, because we know he and Ben Shalom don't like each other. They've had some cross words. So he might have done it for that reason, and also perhaps to kick the can down the road a little bit so that Daniel Dubois doesn't have to face Martin Bakole as soon as he would have done had the purse bid gone ahead. Now, shortly after this news broke, Martin Bakole did this video, which is on a YouTube channel there you can see on screen, and he was expressing his disappointment at Kabayel pulling out of the fight, and he called out Zhilei Zhang, the big man from China. He says he's willing to fight him in China. He just wants to get it on and become mandatory for the IBF. And shortly after he uploaded this video, Billy Nelson tweeted this: Zhang versus Bakole has just been called for by the IBF in a final eliminator. Now, I did go to the IBF website to check whether this was the case, but like most of the other sanctioning bodies, the IBF are not very quick to update their website with the latest news. I don't know why the sanctioning bodies are like this. Maybe they just are too stingy with their money to hire staff to update their website regularly. But you tend to hear about updates in sanctioning body rankings or eliminators being called. Maybe not the rankings because they do update them quite well, but certainly when it comes to them ordering final eliminators, you tend to hear that from third parties before you hear it from the sanctioning bodies themselves, such is the case here with the IBF. So all we've got right now is Billy Nelson's word to go on. He claims that the IBF have ordered Zhang versus Bakole as a final eliminator. Now, there'd been talk about this fight happening several times over the past 6 months or so, but I distinctly remember an interview that Frank Warren did, and I did a video about it at the time, where he basically shut down the prospect of Zhilei Zhang fighting Martin Bakole, which was very disappointing to me because Riyadh season, Turkey Al Sheikh, they certainly seem to like the fight. But Frank Warren, of course, promotes Zhilei Zhang and he promotes a bunch of other heavyweights. Again, maybe he doesn't want to let Ben Shalom take down one of his big guns. Maybe he wants to try to keep it all in-house as much as possible. This is something promoters tend to do. If it was a more vulnerable heavyweight, somebody who Frank Warren perceived as more vulnerable than Bakole, then perhaps he'd let Zhang fight him. But because Bakole is seen as a bit of a danger man in the division, will Frank Warren seek to block this fight? Will he act like Zhang's going to fight Martin Bakole, take it all the way to negotiations, all the way up to the day of the purse bid, and then pull his guy out despite Ben Shalom? Because in this particular instance, it would be an actual Frank Warren fighter. You see, if that is what has gone on with Adjit Kabayel, Frank Warren has plausible deniability, of course, if he has done something like that or encouraged Kabayel to do something like that because he's signed to fight Dubois instead. He's got plausible deniability because he doesn't promote Adjit Kabayel, as far as I'm aware. But he does promote Zhilei Zhang. Would Frank Warren not want to be called a hypocrite if he pulled that move, pulling Zhang out of a Bakole fight on the day of the purse bid? I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Personally, I hope this fight happens. I hope that Zhilei Zhang and his people put their foot down and tell Frank Warren in no uncertain terms, no. We're taking this fight with Martin Bakole. Zhang's been out the ring too long. We're taking the fight. Maybe Frank Warren is looking to match Dubois with Kabayel and then do the rematch, because that's something he's been talking about, the rematch between Zhang and Parker, because apparently Zhang's got a contractual right to have a rematch with Parker. But how many of you guys really want to see that fight? I thought Parker was a deserved winner. I wouldn't want to see a rematch right now because the first fight was boring as hell. Let's be real. It wasn't an entertaining spectacle. The only entertainment were the 2 knockdowns. Other than that, it was Zhang plodding around the ring. He came in too heavy. His stamina was even worse than normal, and he couldn't do anything in there. I think he went through the entire 12th round without throwing a punch. He certainly didn't land a punch. I don't want to see that again anytime soon. I would rather both guys move in different directions. Zhang's coming off a good win over Deontay Wilder. I'd like to see him in there against another big punching man in Martin Bakole. Let's hope that Zhang, as I say, puts his foot down with his promoter Frank Warren and says, no, I don't care what your little in-house plans are. We're taking the Bakole fight. Zhang thinks he can beat Bakole. Zhang thinks if he beats Bakole, he can then set up a fight with Dubois, which I'm sure he'd be very confident of winning as well.